In Detroit, Michigan, on March 24th, 2015, a clean-out team began removing furniture from an apartment. They were absolutely horrified when they opened an old freezer and found the bodies of two children. Hello everyone. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Sydney Morgan. Make sure you hit the like button if you like this video. If you're new, subscribe so you know when I come out with new videos. I post multiple times a week. I don't usually give out warnings to videos, but this time I'm going to because this case is probably one of the most horrifying cases that I have ever researched. This case involves sexual assault of children, torture, and murder. And please know that this story is based on the claims of the mother. The children are no longer here to tell their story, so this is just what the mother had said in court. On to today's case. Today's case is about a woman named Mitchelle Blair. She lived in Detroit, Michigan with her 4 children. The oldest was a girl named Gabby. The second oldest was a 13-year-old girl named Stoney. The third child's name was Stephen, and the youngest son's name was Matthew, and at the time he was 6. Mitchelle really struggled with money. She didn't want to keep a job, so she relied on welfare and on the financial support of her family to pay her bills. Eventually she couldn't pay her bills, and her 4 children were finally evicted from their apartment. On March 24th, 2015, the city sent a clean-out crew to her apartment to clean out all her belongings. And Mitchelle was at a neighbor's house while this was going on. The team got in and they were taking out all the furniture that they could, and in the living room they had found a giant freezer. When they opened the freezer, they found the body of her daughter Stoney. So these people were freaking out and they called police. Once police got there, the police came in and they removed Stoney's body that was wrapped in plastic and stuffed in this freezer. Once they removed it, they realized that there was another body underneath of that. And that was the body of Michelle's son, Stephen. The neighbors told police where they could find Mitchelle. She was actually at a neighbor's house, hanging out with friends, and they immediately went and arrested Mitchelle. The children's bodies were taken to the medical examiner's office, where it took days for these children's bodies to thaw. When police began questioning Mitchelle, she told them everything. She pled guilty, and in court she would tell the story of what she claims happened to her children, and what she told the court stunned everyone. In court, Mitchelle claims that one day she came home and her oldest daughter, Gabrielle, told her to go look at what the youngest son, Matthew, was doing with his dolls. So she goes in and looks, and apparently Matthew was taking his dolls and he was doing sexual motions with them. And Mitchelle, when she asked, "Why are you doing that? Has anybody ever done that to you?" He at first said no, but then he said, "Yes, Stephen has." She says that when she went into Stephen's room to ask him if he had done something like that to Matthew, Stephen stood up, and she says that the look on his face told her everything. And I get it. I'm a mom. I have kids. When I confront my children, and I know they're guilty half the time because the look on their face tells me everything that I need to know. So it's possible. Mitchelle claims that she asked him again and he said, "Yes, but that's all." She claims that she asked Stephen, "Have you ever done this with your underwear off?" And he said no, and in the background Matthew yelled, "Yes, he did." She claims that she started pacing in the hallway. She says that as Matthew's telling more and more details of what Stephen had done to him, she says she's starting to piece together things in the past that might make this stuff make sense. She says that when she was done pacing, she went back into Stephen's room and she started punching him. Mitchelle said that she placed a plastic bag over Stephen's head. She had thought that Matthew had been wetting the bed. Matthew told her that he wasn't wetting the bed, that during the night, Stephen would come down from the top bunk to Matthew's bunk and he would pee on him. She claims that Matthew says after peeing on him that he would rape him. And while he was doing that act, he would push Matthew so hard, his face so hard into the bed that he couldn't breathe. Matthew says that Stephen would place things around his neck and choke him. So once Mitchelle found this out, she went and she grabbed a belt and she placed it around Stephen's neck and she would ask him, "Do you like how this feels?" And at this point, Mitchelle said that she took Stephen into the bathroom. She put him in the tub, made him stand up, and she would pour scalding hot water onto his genitals. And she said she did this until his skin was literally falling off. In court, she says that she did make Stephen drink Windex as well because Matthew claims that Stephen would take him down to the basement in the middle of the night and make him drink the blue stuff, which was Windex. And she claims that she thought the whole time that he was having really bad stomach issues, he was vomiting, he was stuck on the toilet, that she thought that he had something like the stomach flu. Mitchelle claims that she beat him and tortured him for over a week. When she went into his bedroom on August 30th of 2012, she says that the room was covered in vomit. She said that she tried to help Stephen go to the restroom, but he couldn't go. Probably because you freaking burnt his thing off. His breathing was super crazy, and his heartbeat was really faint. She says that she laid on the floor with him and held him as he died. She says that she called the police and gave them like a hypothetical question. She says that she asked the police, hey, if one child is raping the other child in the household, what's going to happen? And they pretty much told her that CPS would take both children out of the house. And she didn't want to lose Matthew. So she claims that she asked Matthew what he wanted her to do. She said, I have to give myself up. I have to confess. I have to call the police, but mom's going to go away for a while. And he said that he didn't want her to do it. So she wrapped him in plastic. She put him in the freezer and they went about their lives like it never happened. The judge asked Mitchelle what she did to Stoney. And she said, she raped my son, so I intentionally killed her. 9 months after the murder of Stephen, Matthew confronted her, saying that Stoney, the second oldest child, who was 13 at the time, would take her menstrual pads and wring them out into Matthew's mouth. And she flipped her shit. Mitchelle claims that when she found this out, she went into Stoney's room, she started punching, kicking, and was beating her with a stick. She says that she placed Stoney in the tub and was throwing scalding hot water on her as well. She says that she asked Stoney if all what Matthew was saying was true. And eventually Stoney said yes. And each time Stoney would verify more and more details that Matthew was telling Mitchelle, she would throw more hot water on her, and she would continue to beat her with a stick, kick her, and punch her. She then says that when she found out about Stoney doing this to Matthew, she says that Stoney also confessed to doing this to Stephen. And the judge finally asked her, have you ever seen any of this being done? She said, no, I haven't seen any of this being done, but I know it's the truth for a fact. I'll take a lie detector test. She says that for years, Matthew would complain about stomach issues, or that when he was on the toilet, he couldn't go to the bathroom because he was in pain. And she says that she was just piecing everything together of why Matthew was hurting so much for so long. The judge asked if killing Stoney was an accident because Mitchelle claimed that killing Stephen was an accident. She meant to hurt him and not to kill him. But she flat out said, I meant to kill Stoney. It was not an accident, and if I had the chance, I would do it again. She said, "I don't feel any remorse for killing Stoney." She said, "I don't feel any remorse for killing those demons." Now, before sentencing, Mitchelle was sent to talk to a psychiatrist or, a doctor, and tell her story. The doctor said that her and Gabby, the oldest daughter, they did not waver from their stories. They both had very cooperating stories. They seemed very truthful. So I guess it was believed that Mitchelle was telling the truth. But can I just say, that's the truth based on what the child says. So if Matthew was mad at his brother and sister or whatever, there is a chance that not all of this could be true. But I mean, with the details, I'd like to think that children would not do this to their siblings, but they're not here to tell the truth. They're not here to verify if it was really happening. You're going off the story of, at this time, it was 2 years later after they found the bodies. So at the time of the abuse, Matthew was 6 years old, but after she was arrested, he would have been 8 or 9 years old. I just hope that Matthew wasn't saying all this just to get his brother and sister in trouble, because it led to their horrific torture and murder. But the other 2 children, Matthew and Gabby, were sent to doctors to take a physical exam, and apparently it shows that there were multiple crazy healed wounds on both children that looked like some kind of abuse. And when they spoke with the doctors, I guess the 2 children had verified that they had been being abused for most of their lives by Mitchelle. And if all this was going on, you would think that living in an apartment, having 2 children throughout a 9-month period, screaming while getting scalding hot water dumped on them in the bath, you'd think that the neighbors would hear some kind of commotion or screaming or something. Nothing was ever reported. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about this case, but the only thing that I ask is, please keep the comments clean. Mitchelle, at the end, was finally sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of paroles. Paroles. But reports have come in that since she's been in prison, she is super aggressive. She likes to throw feces and urine on the guards and other inmates. She's a very aggressive person. So I hope that she lives out the rest of her days in prison miserably like she should. But it kind of sucks that she's the aggressor in prison, because it would kind of be like, not saying I want her to get beat up, but it would, maybe for Stephen and Stoney's sake, if she could get beat up once or twice, that might be nice. I actually wasn't going to cover this case because it was a little crazy, even for me, and I love true crime. But I wanted to cover this case because I kind of wanted to give my opinion on what I would do if I had found out that something like this was going on in my house. I would be pissed. I wouldn't murder my children. I think that removing the aggressor and having them go to counseling or even a psych ward, I don't know what I would do, but I definitely wouldn't murder my children. I wouldn't torture them for weeks. I would make sure that they got help, but I would also be the parent that tells them right from wrong, like, you can't do stuff like this. And maybe that wouldn't be enough, I don't know, but I would definitely think that if this happened in my house, I would seek out counseling and figure out how to cure my children of these types of thoughts, these types of actions. I wouldn't murder them. That's crazy. That's crazy. They're baby. At that age, there's a possibility that they could still be saved. But at this point, these kids can't be saved. Like I said, this is all based on the mother's claims. There's really no guaranteed truth to it, but this is a crazy one. But thank you guys for coming back and watching another video with me. Make sure you give it a thumbs up. If you're new, subscribe. And in the comments, Let me know what you think, because this one was crazy. I hope you have an awesome day, and come back in a few days and I will have a new video ready for you guys.